Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Swanee and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right. How are we? It's been a week or so. What's news?
I think you've got some news, haven't you, Schmidty? What are you up to?
Yes. My great run of I'm immune to COVID had came to a crashing end this week, and I am on day 4 of self-isolation, recovering from the dreaded Rona.
How good is it?
It's not very good.
Not the Rona, the isolation.
I enjoy that.
I don't mind that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Is Tony back?
Yeah, Tony got back on Thursday, and I was positive on Thursday. Tested positive on Thursday, so I had to send him a note saying, "Sorry, mate, can't pick you up from the airport. I've got COVID. Can't see you for a week." So yeah,
love
he's
you.
a bit sad. Yeah. I mean, he came in and we didn't come in. He
at the door.
Stood outside at the window and waved at me, and so we just and I said, "Oh, look at us, star-crossed lovers. We just have to wait another week."
Bless.
Oh.
Yeah, so apart from watching lots of television, I've just started to catch up a little bit because I was pretty much wiped out for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
It does sound like that's a bit of a thing, isn't it? There are people who obviously get it quite badly, but for those of us who get a fairly mild dose, it does feel like it's a real 3-day kind of thing. And then you 3-day event, and then you're like, oh, actually, it's going to feel pretty good.
I'm all right now.
I'm feeling good. I'm not right, but I'm feeling good.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Good for you.
And you guys?
Carla, do you want to start? Tell everyone about what that thing is, your studies or whatever it was. Your 7 studies. God,
I've just been in, I don't know, mad mum mode, and I was just explaining to the guys that I'm feeling a little bit frazzled. It might take me a moment to get my act together, but I've just been to Year 7 study skills, where because I have the joy of having twins, I get to sit there between 2 children and try and help 2 children in a sort of situation where they're taught. It's actually very helpful, but I mean, it is a midday on a Sunday. No one's really that keen to be doing that, and even the staff.
Stupid time to do it.
Well, I guess there's no other time. They admit that, but it is very helpful. I did it with my oldest son a couple of years ago.
Well, there's lots of other times. You just might have a better excuse for not turning up.
Well,
if they did
this is terrible, but it was cut slightly short because they are so understaffed with so many teachers out with COVID. It's awful, but I was literally, I was thanking them, thinking, oh, thank God for COVID. It just gave me a little bit of extra time. When I realised the format was changing, I was like, this is promising.
Yes.
And one of my kids is going, why is it finishing? I'm like, shh, don't point out the fact that I think it's going to finish up early. We got out and we did what we had to do, and yes, so that's what I've been up to. Clarky, I'm sure you can think of something more interesting than that.
Oh, I don't know. We've just been hanging around the house drinking wine all weekend, really. We had friends come over yesterday
for a wax and
wine session because Stuart got his back waxed.
Not waxing lyrical, no.
Yeah, not waxing lyrical.
But I'm sure you did a bit of that though too.
There was plenty of that. Got the microphones out, all that sort of stuff. But the reason for the back waxing is that we are heading off on our holiday on Friday. Super excited.
4 more working days.
So what else? Are we going to get a fake tan? And is someone going to come and pitch up one of those fake tan tents and spray you?
Yeah, we're getting collagen implants and
we're going all out.
Duck lips, or is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Collagen in your lips.
Yeah.
That shows how much I know.
Botox.
I guess it really means we're not doing any of that. We're just going to go and have a bloody good time, which would be great.
Oh, how exciting. Where do you start?
Yes. We start on the Gold Coast. We're going to Broadbeach for a week, and then we fly out of there and go to Turkey for 2 weeks.
That's quite a leap. Not many people are doing the Goldie Turkey
I know.
route.
It's an quite unusual run.
But I didn't know you were doing that, so I wasn't expecting you to say that. So when you said the Goldie, at first I was thinking, is he talking about like the Gold Coast of a particular, how like there's a Riviera of this? Well, there is. There's the Golden Coast and the Riviera of this, the Riviera of that. And that's kind of where my head was going until you pointed out it was in Queensland. But And
No,
why are you
just
going
Gold
there
Beach.
first? Have you got friends there or family?
Well, because remember this thing called COVID? So we were
Yes.
supposed to go there in 2020 and it got cancelled.
Right.
Then we booked for last year and it got cancelled. Then we rescheduled to later last year and it got cancelled.
Oh,
And so now we've gone to this year. So when we decided we were going to go to Turkey,
Yeah.
we realised that we were going to be in the Gold Coast and we'd either have to fly back to Melbourne and then go
mm-hmm.
or just fly straight out of
Brizzy.
Brizzy. So
Okay.
we're going to do that.
Excellent. Oh.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, now that you're all hair free, you're ready to go.
Exactly.
And I know you've been doing it all weekend, but what are you drinking?
Well, I'm glad you asked because today we're going to drink leftovers.
Yum.
You know how
Very
when you
unlike
have
us.
a whole lot of
The
friends
dregs.
over and they all drink different wines,
Yeah.
and so you clean up and you go, shit, there's all these half-open bottles.
Mm.
So we're doing that. So we started with one of the ones that we make, and then we're going to go on to a small yet mighty McLaren Vale Shiraz. So
Very nice.
yeah, watch the slurring towards the end of the show.
What are you on, Schmidty? A hydrolyte or a...
Soda stream,
Soda
just soda
stream.
water.
Yeah. I have to say I'm in the same boat for the time being, but I might be able to switch over to something once I regain my composure.
Is soda water like a COVID cocktail? Like it's kind of the standard drink, isn't it, when you've got COVID? You just put a bit of lemon in it and pretend that you put it in a cocktail glass and just pretend.
Have you
Or
lost
you
your
just
sense of smell?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
wow.
lost my sense of taste and smell, so it seems a bit pointless trying to have something delicious to drink. Because,
Welcome to my world.
yeah, I know. I was thinking, but honestly,
Makes
I
a
haven't,
difference,
I
particularly
haven't
with
been hit
alcohol.
by a whiff of Buff's farts or anything all week, so
There's an upside.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
there definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you?
Mm.
And speaking of senses, have you lost your sense of humour?
Oh.
No, I don't know. We'll find out in the next hour or two.
Okay, stay tuned.
Let us introduce ourselves. I am Schmidty.
I am Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial
by wine.
Wine.
With a little bit of COVID.
Yes.
Just a splash.
Yeah,
A dash
trial
of
by
COVID.
COVID cocktail.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, of course, being about COVID, and given I'm going to do today's story, I figured that since I'm isolating with COVID, I would do a story related to COVID. Why not?
Oh.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Yes. Well, I was sweating it out at my computer, quite literally. And I went back to my old... I've done nothing but sweat for days. But I went back to... When I did Sacramental Bleach, that was supposed to be a COVID and Florida-based story.
Yeah.
And I had a whole bunch of them, and we didn't cover them because we ended up having so much
stuck
fun.
into that one. Yeah, I remember.
That one story,
I remember.
yeah. So I went back and had a read, and I was like, I'll just see if anything else has popped up. My wordy, lordy, shitty,
Yes,
or whatever
indeed,
it is.
indeed,
Dudation, that's right. Yes, a new story came up which I hadn't picked up last time, and it happens to also be from Florida, which was just a coinkydink. I wasn't
Shocking.
really going for another Florida story. So my sources for this are the CBS News and MiamiNewTimes.com and a few others, which were mainly local Florida papers.
Is there
But
a
you know-
Miami Old Times?
No, I didn't see in Miami all the time, just the new one.
That would be great if it just did news from like the 50s and 60s or something.
It would. In fact,
Although they'd be old.
I wonder what Florida man from the 50s was like. Florida man,
Exactly.
mows his neighbour's lawn.
Yes,
or
there's
something.
crazy.
Yeah.
He just wasn't doing it on crack.
Yeah, or
And-
methamphetamine.
Or,
that's
or,
right.
throwing
Shitting
an
himself
alligator around
and-
at the same time.
Having
Just
his
a bit
bits
of-
and pieces over someone's neck.
Maybe some insurance fraud, or I don't know if you saw the post we did
Tons.
during the week with the old man in the horrible blue bathing
yes, I
suit
did.
on the
Yeah.
beach with wings and everything.
Where did you get that photo of
what?
Tony?
Uh,
I'm sure I haven't
Ouch.
shared that.
Ouch. Anyway, I
You don't even know how to
digress.
respond to that, yeah.
No, move along.
My story is about David Anthony, who he was. Well, he is 6'7", but he's probably no longer a fitness instructor. From Jupiter, Florida.
Oh, I've been there.
No, is there really a place called
Yeah,
Jupiter in
in
Florida?
fact-
Yes, there is. Yes.
My eldest son, for a school project, which must have now been maybe 7 years ago, did the Jupiter Lighthouse. And he had to create it, we built it, and we have absolutely been there. Yes.
Is there a place called Uranus?
I'm sure.
There sure
Have
is.
you been there?
Don't know if it's in Florida, though.
I bet you've been there.
Been to Uranus, but I've never been to me.
I was so hoping you were going to say Springfield.
Oh, yeah.
No, there's no Springfield in this one, sorry.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Growing up with a single mother in Palm Beach Gardens, David had spent most of his childhood and adolescent years adrift. He didn't usually speak unless addressed. He was overweight and he had low self-esteem, which made him a constant target for bullies at school. Because he was so much larger than other kids his age, he hadn't even been allowed to join recreational sports leagues.
Have we seen
What?
a picture of him? Like when they say so much larger, is he like 4 times the size of a normal kid, or is
He's
he just
6'7", so I'm gonna say he was massive as a child.
Yeah.
right?
I hate to
Yeah,
ask this
yeah.
question because it will sound like I'm sort of leading the witness, but in the US, there are so many very, very tall people, a lot of them, athletes, sports people.
It's the
Was
chicken.
this boy black?
No, he was white.
Okay. That's really
Yeah.
why it was, yeah, okay. So, yeah, again.
I just think he just didn't fit in. I
Yeah.
think later on when he goes to college and that he does, I think he plays basketball, something that
Yeah.
tall people get into,
Yeah.
that fits tall people. But when he was primary school sort of aged,
He was already so
probably
tall, yeah.
he would have been like, I don't know if you've seen, I digress a little bit. Have you seen Young Rock, the
No.
series that The Rock has made, which is sort of a joke version of his life?
No.
Well, when they've got an actor playing him as a teenage boy who looks about 35, that's the kind of feeling that I get about this kid. Like he's like 8 foot taller than
Yeah.
everyone else, and he
Just
looks like a
sticks out like a
35-year-old
sore
man.
Yeah.
So as a teen and a young adult, he struggled with severe depression and showed symptoms his family believed to be consistent with bipolar disorder. But I think it's important to note he was never diagnosed with any form of disorder.
Did they get him looked at to see whether he did have?
Yeah, I'm going to, having read the next line, I'm going to edit that whole bit out and just say his family believed to be consistent with bipolar disorder, refusing to take medications of any kind.
Brilliant.
Whoops. He devoted every bit of himself to his physical well-being. After high school, he earned a scholarship to play basketball for Eckhart College in St. Petersburg. He idolised macho superheroes like Thor and basketball greats like Kobe Bryant, even naming his husky Kobe in tribute. In 2010, David met Heidi Yeagers. They met at a local networking event and they clearly connected. Heidi was just out of college working as a waitress and insurance rep. Whilst there was a 10-year gap between them, Anthony ticked a few of her boxes for a prospective partner. He was attractive and...
How many boxes did she have?
Oh, I think she had a few. Yeah. Like, 22-year-old girls. He's got to be good looking. He's got to have good prospects, all that sort of stuff.
Those
nice
dicks,
car.
all
That was
that
very
sort of
Jimmy
stuff.
Reese. You just needed your little, that thing. It was like you were scanning there when you did it. With tick,
Tick.
tick.
That's
Yep.
it, yeah. He was attractive, charming, and extremely interested in her. He offered her a free PT session and asked her out, and they dated for around a year. And I can tell you, if someone offered me a free personal training session when I first met them, I would tell them to go fuck themselves. But anyway,
Why is that?
because I would
you're
be offended
bitter
that
enough?
they think I need
Oh.
a PT session.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
find that attractive. I'm not okay with that.
Hey.
During that year, they would constantly remind each other how in love they were. So you can cue the puking noises, not the I was like, ugh, gross.
And the eye rolling.
At that age, you'd expect it.
He's 10 years older than her. So she's 22, he's 32. And they're like, oh, remember we love each other. You know how much I love you. You know how much you love me.
No, you kept reminding me. It's hard to
Gross.
forget, but yes, good point.
Precisely, yes.
Hot bird.
And as with all fledgling romances, and especially as a young person, Heidi ignored the red flags that popped up from time to time. I mean, surely your partner timing how long you take to run errands and get home is just a sign they love you, right?
Yeah.
Well, if he's offering her PT sessions, maybe it's like
the exercise
your
routine.
time starts
Yeah.
now because she's got to
Time
run.
trial.
Everything's
Yeah.
time trials. Yeah, yeah. No?
Well, yeah, but or asking what you ate and whether you'd worked out when you didn't see him. That's cool, yeah?
Of course
That's right.
it is.
Yeah. Or not nagging about going out with your friends, in a negative way, as in you shouldn't be going out with your friends. None of that sounds like coercive control at all, does it?
No.
It's just being worried about you.
It's just a concerned
Just
partner.
caring.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, lucky for Heidi, by November 2010, David became a bit more distant and weird. One day after work, Heidi walked in the door of his apartment where he was waiting for her. He grabbed her hand and he got down on one knee. And of course, this explained why he'd been weird. He was nervous about proposing to her. Every Mills and Boon she'd ever read was validated in that moment. Or was it?
Oh, no.
No, this isn't actually.
Dun, dun, dun.
So instead of saying something like, Heidi, since I met you, I can't imagine my life without you. You complete me, as you wish. I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be you so
had
badly.
Me at hello.
I like you very much, just as you are, and you had me at hello, and yes, thank you. There's all lines from rom-coms.
Oh.
Instead of saying that, David said that he needed to surround himself with successful people and be with someone who took their health and fitness more seriously, and that's just not you, Heidi.
But did he really get down on one knee to say that?
Yeah.
What?
Hang on.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to break up with you in order for you to have time to become the person I want you to be.
I love this guy. This is exactly what most people. It's what most people think. They just don't say it. He's going out there and saying it. It's not. It's not me. It's you. You need to go and sort your shit out. Off you go.
Wow.
Well, I think her quite natural response was, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" She tore her hand from David's, even as he insisted this was an opportunity for her to grow.
Bro.
It doesn't have to be like this, he told her. What the fuck do you expect? She remembers saying. You just broke up with me in the most fucked up way. She collected her belongings from his place and slammed the door behind her. So, some time passes and David meets Gretchen. Gretchen had spent most of her life up north attending fashion school in New York City and later earning her degree closer to her childhood home of New Jersey, where she eventually worked as a teacher. She moved to Florida sometime in 2006, but after spending 8 years working at private schools in Palm Beach County, she made a career change and accepted an HR position with Viking Utility, an electrical contractor. She was outgoing, confident, and spent much of her career, first as a teacher and later as a human resources director, helping others to find theirs. David and Gretchen met at the gym, and similar to Heidi, she found him charismatic and very attractive. They married in 2015, and they seemed like a dream couple. They both led active lifestyles. David was a passionate outdoorsman who enjoyed cycling, deep-sea fishing, and kayaking. Gretchen loved going to the beach, paddleboarding, and doing yoga. Sounds like
hang on a minute.
An ad, doesn't it? Yeah.
So it sounds like they're both doing very different things.
Yeah, but both related to water.
Sporty
outdoors.
Yeah, but like I'm going to go and do my outdooring and I'm going to go paddleboarding. Like it just seems like to do all of that, you'd be spending a lot of time apart.
He's out there deep sea fishing while she boards past
over
him.
the top.
Yeah.
She's on shark alert.
However, in 2017, things took a turn for the worse. When a car fell on David in their garage, leaving him with an acquired brain injury.
Oh shit!
I'm so glad that we don't video this because I've got the biggest smile on my face laughing at your reaction. I'm not laughing at him getting an acquired brain injury.
No, because before you said in the garage, I thought a car fell on him and I'm thinking, God, like did it go off a bridge and land on him or something? What the fuck? But yeah, he was obviously working underneath it or something like that.
Wile E. Coyote pushed it off the top of a cliff.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, after that, David's behaviour became increasingly difficult and Gretchen basically spent the last 3 years of a 5-year marriage trying to leave him. She told friends about his behaviour, which was manic and verbally abusive, and they separated for 6 months at one time, but then they reconciled. In 2018, David believed the world was ending. I don't know why, he just did. He loaded his truck with 3 big bags of rice some pots and pans, and 10 pairs of shoes before taking off.
I tell you what, that's what I'd do if I thought the world was ending. 10
Right.
pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 10 pairs of shoes did throw me a little, but I thought maybe he thought he's going to have to walk. Like when he runs out of petrol, he's going to have to do a lot of walking or something.
It sounds like he thinks the world's not ending. It's just going to be a train smash. Because if it's ending,
You don't need this.
you don't need rice and you don't need shoes. Just
Oh,
go on.
true. Yeah. Just he was going to go
An
survive.
apocalyptic
You know, like
event.
don't look up. Just we're all going to die. Let's just go and have a big party.
I'm taking my best 10 pairs of shoes and 3 bags of rice and off I go.
Yeah, not Mad Max.
Yeah. And I think you're probably right. I think his view of the world ending was more about this sort of how he was going to exist in a post-apocalyptic world. So his family believed the episode was a symptom of his bipolar and manic depressive disorders, and although Gretchen saw that David was struggling with his mental illness, she didn't believe she could solve for it. As time went on and he didn't receive treatment, she got over it, frankly. She texted a friend in December 2019 saying, "I wish him well and I hope he learns how to deal with his mental issues. I feel bad that I couldn't help, but I think he needs to learn how to love himself before he can love anyone, something he might not experience in his lifetime."
She sounds like a pretty normal person.
Yeah.
Well,
I think she was pretty sane, pretty
with it.
Yeah. She reportedly locked herself in their bedroom for safety, texting a friend that she gleaned a hint of that crazy look in his eyes. "I'm watching him on the cameras and waiting for him to go to bed," she texted. "Then I'll go downstairs and get a knife to put under my pillow just in case and hopefully get some sleep."
What?
Oh, what?
That year,
Taking a
on Christmas
turn?
Eve, it's very not good. That year on Christmas Eve, Gretchen went through David's backpack and found her wedding ring, her passport, her driver's license, her credit cards, and some cash.
I don't think he's getting those
incident
as gifts for her, is he?
No, he's taking them away from her.
Santa, what have you
He's
got
not
in
going to
your little
surprise
sack?
her with a trip.
We're going to Paris, baby.
We're going to go. We're going to go hiking to the airport.
No, I think you're probably right. The incident worried her enough that she texted Dawn Paris, there's a coincidence, her boss and friend, that she was afraid of her own husband. By the end of the month, Gretchen made the decision to leave the turbulent relationship. She had David move out of the townhouse and change the locks. So, sensible girl.
Yeah.
After leaving the house, David moved in with his mother. He was working at Orange Theory in Jupiter, a gym he'd worked at on and off for about 6 years. After the split from Gretchen, he would start showing up to work late and was withdrawn, which was out of character for him. Then, on January the 26th, David copped another crushing blow.
From another car?
A nut punch.
No.
Yeah.
When Kobe Bryant, his hero,
yes.
died in a helicopter crash.
Yep.
This devastated David. He broke out in hysterics, crying and wailing in front of the classes he led. But when a manager offered to send him home and call in a replacement, he refused. David imploded in the most visible and visceral manner possible. He seemed to want everyone to know he was hurting. When Kobe Bryant passed away, something happened. Tabitha, his boss at Orange Therapy, said, "You would have thought he and Kobe Bryant were best friends." He was so traumatised by it. So David started to date new people, trying to move on, and joined a cult called Gratitude Training.
And joined a cult.
Yeah, look, it's not, and I've literally written, it's not really material to this story. And the Gratitude Training call themselves a cunt.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh, wow. And I'm keeping you not leaving that in. We're going to start popping now.
The look on your face when you said it. Hold the COVID love in the chest.
Oh, it comes the sweats again. Sorry.
That's one of the lesser known symptoms of COVID, where you just lose all restraint.
Sorry. Okay, I'm not even quite sure how I managed that. They call themselves a cult on their own website, so they can't sue me.
Oh.
But also, who does
They
that?
call themselves a cult.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
So I did a little bit of research into it. It's not material to the story. Oh, look, it might have been an influence, but there's no evidence of it. But yeah, they actually were like, yeah, look at us. We're pretty much like cults. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so I think that is something I might pick up for another time. It was quite interesting. David continued teaching classes at Orange Theory, but on February the 24th, when he didn't show up to work on time, which meant customers were locked out, Tabitha, his boss, fired him. 4 days later, Gretchen filed for divorce.
Oh.
So things were not going well for David. And also, I think we can all remember what was happening around this late February 2020. Yeah.
The old Rona.
The old Rona was rearing her ugly head.
Head, that's right.
Yeah. So on March the 7th, he went on a paint and sip date with a woman he'd been seeing for about a month.
A paint and sip date.
Yeah, so this is where you go and you drink wine, you sip wine, and you get some art materials and you paint stuff, and someone like tells you how to do it. It's one of those naff dating type things, you know, the kind of thing you get on a stupid voucher. Sorry to everyone who loves paint and sip, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
I don't know, but I kind of view painting as an individual thing, and so like, do they paint the same picture?
I don't know.
I feel like they didn't.
You seem to
I
know.
just feel like they didn't give it their all when they came up with the naming of that. You know, paint and sip. It's like, you know,
rubbish.
paint and Pinot or anything. I mean, a little bit of alliteration would have gone a long way in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels like paint and sip feels a bit like yeah.
Dip and sip.
Yeah.
Like if you dip into the paint pot.
Perhaps.
Probably you'd think of other
The
things.
only person I know who's done anything like this wasn't really so much a date, but I've seen like groups of women do it. And I also think my brother and his partner, they hosted it at their house, and my mum was invited along, and they painted something that looked like it was supposed to be a flower, but hers looked a little bit like a vulva.
I think every flower ever painted looks like a vulva.
Yeah, well, it was that same kind of thing. And I thought the boys might have done it on purpose. I thought it was a joke, and then people didn't get it. But I was like, I didn't want to say anything in case it wasn't a joke, but that's what I thought was perhaps behind it.
Right.
Yes.
I never think a picture of a flower looks like a vulva. I wonder why that is.
I don't know, but everything my sister ever paints when she does all of her backdrops and stuff, when she does like these lovely flowers, they're vulvas.
Lady.
I reckon if there was a lineup of 4 flowers and a vulva, I probably wouldn't know which one was the vulva.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
I'd know the 4 flowers and I'd go, what's that?
That's a very rare and special kind of flower.
That's from a lady
garden.
It's an
orchid.
Yes, it is.
It's a lady garden.
The lady garden.
All right, so they went on this naff date, and he'd been seeing her for about a month. And during the class, he tried to feel her up, and she said, no, thank you very much. And he lost the plot, yelling at her and storming out. As she'd driven him there, he's not staying.
Oh, it's pretty. You're a hornbag and you're at the paint and sip. It's like,
what?
You couldn't have just taken it to the pub or I don't know.
I can't feel you up at the paint and sip.
I know, why not?
What is this class?
This is the worst.
It seemed really obvious to me that it would be a bit of sexy time at the paint and sip, but misread that, didn't he, Joel?
Oh, yeah. He goes on to misread more. So as she'd driven him there, she had to drive him home so he could get his truck. And she said, oh, look, you're not welcome to stay at my place. When they got to her place, she found that he'd already half moved in. Bags of his clothes were on her bed. He'd put food in the freezer, and his dog Kobe was in the backyard.
But how did that happen?
I know. Did he break in and then half move in?
I don't know, but
where was she at work when it happened? I mean, how did anyway?
I don't know.
Okay.
There were no details on how this happened, but basically, this woman was like,
bit surprised.
Hello,
crazy.
It's that lesser-known crime of breaking and entering and moving in.
yes, it is.
After a month of dating,
it's quite disturbing, though. Yeah. As she packed it all up again, he hung around outside, banging on the windows and screaming at her, and she only got rid of him by calling her neighbourhood security company. A week later, he spent hours ranting at Gretchen outside her house about the end of the world, and later that evening he was stopped by police for having a partially obscured license plate. Visibly agitated and fidgeting, and in spite of being told to stand still, he yanked the door of his truck open and tried to grab something under the seat. He was just restrained and arrested, but not before slamming the door on a police officer's arm.
Oh.
and posted bail several days later. When the officers looked under the car seat where he'd been reaching, they found a large Bowie knife.
What's that?
What's a Bowie knife? Is that?
It's named after a guy
David.
called Bowie, and not
David?
David.
That was a
no.
joke. I wouldn't know.
I thought it might have been a knife with like
It's
a
those
hilt
huge-
that was shaped like David Bowie.
No, no. It's one of those,
It's a
like the
shame.
big hunting knives that
yeah.
you see,
Yeah.
about I think 6 inches long and quite nasty looking. That's a Bowie knife.
I'll just say yes.
It's named after someone Bowie, but not David. One of his ancestors, perhaps.
How do you know that, Schmidty?
I
do you
found
not-
Knowledge, of course.
Why do you even ask anymore?
Of course.
More like, how many people have you killed with a
Bowie
Bowie
knife.
knife?
None. Gretchen, on the other hand, appeared to be just getting on with her life. If we all think back to that time with COVID, the news had nothing to talk about except COVID. Anxiety was through the roof. Some leaders were calling it a hoax. And I think we all know who they were.
The China
And-
virus.
And others were locking whole cities and countries down. And with that backdrop, Gretchen was just trying to work through her life like everyone else.
Just trying
at
to
the time.
live.
Yeah. On Thursday, March 19, she posted a quote from a meditation blog on her Facebook. When chaos is all around you, the wisest choice is to create peace within you. After that, she didn't post anything on Facebook and pretty much dropped off the grid, which was really out of character, including no longer sharing her location with her daughter, which she was obsessive about. You know, when you share location on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she really
Do you know how old the daughter
find
was?
peace? Like, is it eternal peace she found?
How do
Or
you,
do I have to stay tuned?
Schmidty, how old was her daughter? Like, was she?
12.
But did she?
12
But her
at the
daughter
time.
lived with her?
No, her daughter lived with her first husband.
Okay, because I was going to say,
Who-
otherwise she
who
would
I
have been
will talk
reported
about
gone
it.
missing. So, okay, she doesn't live with them.
Yeah,
Right, that
no.
makes sense, yeah.
Well, yeah, no. They had a shared custody
Yeah,
arrangement.
but she wasn't
I
with
think,
her at this
yeah.
point, right? Got it.
At the time,
Yeah.
no. So Dawn Paris, received a text from Gretchen saying she was sick on Sunday. And when Gretchen didn't show up for work the following day, Dawn got concerned. Dawn sent a check-in note on March 23rd, so this is the Monday, saying, Gretchen, are you okay?
Yeah.
Having heard nothing all day, she sent another, hi, please let me know if you need something. I'm really worried about you. On Tuesday morning, she received a text back from Gretchen saying she'd been hospitalised after passing out and having 102-degree Fahrenheit fever and low oxygen levels. She said she was being transferred to an off-site federal location in Belglade.
What?
This
With
yep,
COVID.
this next the
Is
next
there-
text.
Yeah.
Is there a-
Shush. Yeah,
I
go
was just
on.
going to say, is there a Belgrade in America? Or is she going overseas?
Belglade.
Oh, Belglade. God.
Yeah.
I was thinking, that's extreme.
So I think this place that they're talking about is one of those CDC places, and it was managing COVID.
Right.
And the next text says, tested positive for coronavirus early this morning. That's the bad news, but I'm at a CDC coronavirus treatment facility that only handles COVID cases. The good news is that my blood type has potential to be used in the cure.
Oh.
Does not.
Not sure if you remember me saying that I have a strain of mad cow disease in my blood. Well, that strain is significant in gathering more answers to find a cure. For safety purposes, Dr. Sinclair and her team are strongly recommending that we maintain contact with immediate family members only. I'm using my mum.
Bullshit. That's not her
Yeah.
communicating.
Now, Gretchen had been married before, as I said, and had a daughter, and she was staying with her father in Jupiter. He also started to get weird texts from Gretchen saying she'd been quarantined by the CDC and maybe placed in a medically induced coma, rendering her unreachable. But because Jeff wasn't stupid, he didn't believe it.
And would think...
Who sends a text?
Yeah, it says you're about to... I'm about... Just to let you know, I'm about to be put under. For what? I'm being put into a medically induced... When my mother was put into a medically induced coma, I'm not sure she had time to send...
unwell.
But I just send Carla a quick text before you do that, Dad.
That's right.
And if you wouldn't mind, I might send one to a brother as well, just so they know I'm okay. Don't worry, Mum's just going into a
100%.
medically induced coma, kids.
Ugh.
Just wanted to
Yeah.
let you know.
Nothing to worry about here.
Yeah. Nothing to see. Back with your normal activities.
Yeah, that's right.
Get on with
As
life,
you were.
yeah.
So, of course, Jeff noticed that the texts and their lack of good grammar and punctuation were not of Gretchen's calibre, but did resemble the sort of ranty stuff David would have sent.
Oh.
Ranty stuff.
Yeah.
There's a word we don't hear.
Oh, you're so
a
ranty.
phrase.
Oh,
Stop with your ranty stuff.
ranty.
Bring it into common parlance.
Yes,
Mm.
ranty.
He went to the hospital on March the 24th, which is the Tuesday, and found Gretchen's blue Mini Cooper, which had her purse on the passenger side floor. And that was pretty weird. He then called the hospital because if you remember at this time and right up in Victoria recently, you couldn't go in to a hospital unless, with COVID, you had to ring them all before and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So he called the hospital to ask about her and was told by an ER doctor that she hadn't been a patient there since 2008.
I'm just disappointed that she had a Mini Cooper and not a Nissan Cube. 'Cause I love the Mini Cooper. So good, the Nissan Cube. Remember that from?
I've seen one since on the road, and
Have you?
oh my god!
Well, her daughter wasn't suffering from Munchausen's by proxy in a
wheelchair,
so they didn't
get the cube.
I also didn't get her car donated. She actually
That's right. Yeah. She bought
had
her
the
car.
luxury of choice.
If we ever get to that point, and then we do have a trial by one,
Car.
merch card, it'll have to be the cube.
Oh. That's
I think it's so ugly, and I'm sorry for the listeners who haven't. It's still ugly.
Yeah.
Jeff and Dawn both reported their concerns to the police, requesting a wellness check. The police attended the home and a neighbour asked if they were there to investigate the attack on March the 21st when she'd heard a woman screaming frantically for 15 minutes.
What?
Yeah, that's the one, love. Thanks.
But didn't report it.
Whoops.
And hang on to that. Hang
We
on
all-
to that rage.
We all know good sex doesn't last for 15 minutes, and so she can't have been having good sex. It's got to be something sinister.
Anyway,
Oh.
The police found evidence of a struggle, bloodied towels on the washing machine, broken glass in the bedroom, and a strong odour of bleach in the garage, indicating someone had done some pretty full-on cleanup.
In the garage.
Yeah.
Like you do.
I love the fact that they've had the time to put the bloody towels with good intentions. I'll just pop them on top of the washing machine.
It's
like, I will get to that. I'll pop them in there. That's the kind of stuff I'll do. I think I'll put those towels there to remind me to do it as I walk past.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I would have
But
done.
not after murdering
I'll just put the
someone.
bloody towels there to remind myself I must do that. It was part of the cleanup. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just busy.
Whoops. Oh, I missed that.
Well, I think he was. So David and Kobe left Jupiter in his pickup and drove to Pensacola, which was 600 miles away, where he pawned some ladies' jewellery.
Hang on. So now we're with David now and Kobe the dog.
Kobe's the dog.
But when is this?
So this is around the exact same time. So
the police have gone in and found there's some signs.
Suspicious stuff.
So from the 21st, right?
Yep.
She is sending these weird
Yes,
texts.
yes.
Eventually, the people get sus to it.
Yep.
The police go in. They don't find her.
No.
They don't find him.
No.
But they find evidence of a struggle and something's happened.
And now you're telling us where David
And at the
Kobe
same
were.
time of this happening, David and Kobe had gone to Pensacola.
David and Kobe.
And then I did that on purpose because I thought it was kind of funny. They then continued west, stopping in Pecos, Texas, and then on to Las Cruces, New Mexico. So now they're 2,000 miles from Jupiter.
Yeah.
So at this point, David decides to help the detectives out by giving them a call to say that Gretchen was alive and not in any danger. However, she wasn't comfortable speaking with the investigators herself, so she'd written a statement which he would read for them.
Oh.
With bad spelling.
It's totally normal, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. That'll put the police at their minds at ease.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David and Kobe,
exactly.
who are where?
That's right.
In New Mexico, for just taking the time to make our job that little bit easier. So
That's very
thankful.
good of you. A caring citizen.
It's amazing.
So apparently Gretchen had uncovered some financial goings on at her place of work and was on the run with David as she feared for her life,
right.
having reported it to the authorities.
Yeah.
So there was nothing to see here. It's just your normal run-of-the-mill
Whistleblower,
couple fleeing the bad guys.
Yes.
That's right, yeah. Amazingly, the police didn't go for it.
No.
What?
I know.
No detective.
An effective detective.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And they obtained a warrant on the 29th of March to seize his truck and enlisted the help of the Las Cruces police to orchestrate a traffic stop. Inside the pickup, police found 2 Amazon Echo devices and some dismounted security cameras. They held the truck but told David that, for the time being, he was free to go. because they didn't have enough yet on him. They didn't have enough evidence. They completely
they're
suspected
building.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they couldn't have held him.
Yeah.
Back in Jupiter, I keep thinking about that song Drops of Jupiter.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yes.
back in Jupiter, detectives worked with the surveillance camera company to retrieve video files from the devices. And just as they'd suspected, the cameras had come from Gretchen's garage and veranda. Though I learned the word commonly used for a porch or veranda in Florida is a lanai? Word I've never heard.
Never heard of it.
Lanai. There you go. Interesting. It's a Hawaiian word, I think. Or yeah.
Like Lanaya, like Shania, maybe.
Yeah. It's a lanaya. Let's call it that. Lanai. No, I don't know. Anyway, the footage showed David lurking on the lanai, which opened up to the rear side of the garage with an elongated object in his hands.
Bowie?
6 minutes later, Gretchen appears in the frame, opening the door from the garage while David hides behind it. What are you doing? She demands. The video showed David forcing her into the garage. Off camera, she could be heard screaming. First, Gretchen shouted at the Amazon Alexa device inside the garage, "Alexa, turn on the garage light."
Alexa, save me.
The surveillance...
Oh, my God.
You're going to think that's funny until I read this next line.
No.
The surveillance camera's audio captured a thud and Gretchen's muffled cries. She then shouted again for Alexa, "Alexa, call 911.
Mm.
By her third attempt...
Did Alexa do it? Can
No.
Alexa even do it?
Apparently Alexa can, but she hadn't had it set up to do it. By her third attempt, her suppressed pleas were fading. "Alexa, call 911. As investigators watched and rewatched the videos from Gretchen's surveillance system, they saw David's face enter the frame and his gloved hands take down the cameras. In one shot, Gretchen's blood-soaked head could be seen behind him as he paced around the garage. On March 30, detectives obtained a warrant for David's arrest. As they had released him on the March 29 and they had to canvass the area in New Mexico to find him, but it was all okay because he was emailing them to ask when he was going to get his truck back because he's not particularly bright. A little before midnight on March 31st, police arrested David outside a convenience store in Las Cruces. Once in custody, David refused to say anything about what had happened to Gretchen and insisted that she was alive and well. He insisted this 35 times, even when presented with the evidence of the video footage and the blood, all the rest of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. 8 months later, and brokering a deal with prosecutors, he pled guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for a 38-year sentence. His part of the deal was to lead investigators to Gretchen's remains, which were wrapped in a blanket in a wooded area 3 miles from her home. The cause of death was determined to be stab wounds to her neck and torso. As for David, of course, he's found God. He spends his days studying Bible verses, memorising scripture, and meditating, and calls his sentence a long walk with God.
Fuck off.
At his sentencing hearing, Gretchen's younger sister, Sarah Carey, told him she would never absolve him of his crime, and neither would the universe. And apparently, Gretchen was, big into
Non-religion.
karma.
Yeah.
No, she's into karma.
Yeah.
You can never be forgiven, she told him. You are disgusting.
Good call.
David had this to say: "Men live by their illusions, and my illusion saw COVID-19 as an end-of-the-world prophecy. An Armageddon I felt compelled to escape, no matter the cost.
Oh, shove your head up your ass.
When actions become detached from consequences, that's when madness occurs."
Oh.
What?
Is there anything I can say that will comfort a girl who's lost a mother? Are there any words that will ease the burden of a mother who has lost her daughter? And a voice from the gallery responded, "No."
Good call.
And that's my story of COVID, the cover-up.
Oh, wow.
The COVID
It's a
cover-up.
good story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've not seen that one. Not that I
No,
would.
it's very, very new.
Yes.
I have a feeling he only did that sentence hearing at the end of last year, and so
He's a very
they only
unlikable
found
chap,
her-
isn't he?
I think they only found her body in December
Mhm.
last year. Again, we have one of those red flag stories where no one kind of did anything about it. The
neighbour,
boss
Jesus.
fired him. Obviously, David killed his estranged wife, and all intents and purposes, it really does sound like he had mental health issues. but, you know, he didn't get appropriate treatment.
He did have a car fall on him.
I was going to say, he had the acquired brain injury, which wouldn't have helped, and then got thrown out, dumped, and sacked within 2 months. Pretty shitty things to happen to most people. And so in no way am I justifying what he did. But
he got thrown out, sacked, and dumped, did you say?
Yeah, so his wife threw him out in around December, January. And then he was going out with his other girl who dumped him, the one he tried to move in with. And then he got the sack from his job. And then Gretchen filed for divorce.
Yeah,
all within 8 weeks.
But she threw him out because he was an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
And he lost his job for not turning up.
No, and I didn't cover more, but he was abusive to women. There were a lot of underlying stuff.
I'm not going any sympathy for him for those things because that's all he's doing, and that's the karma that Gretchen talks about.
Yeah, I'm not particularly sympathetic. I'm just saying if you would take things on balance, clearly the guy had issues. But what shits me is the neighbour who screams for 15 minutes and didn't call it in.
Is that why you're here? Oh. No, but thank you for letting us know in a timely manner. That's awful.
4 days later, oh, you're here for that. Yeah, no, never called it. No one called it. And it wasn't just one. I don't think it was just one neighbour. From what I read in various accounts, I think there were quite a few neighbours who sort of hung around and sort of said, oh, yeah, you're here for that thing. And they all noticed the bleach. There was remarked on that neighbours had noticed the amount of bleach on the driveway. You know, I don't know if I've talked about this before. I might have mentioned it in previous episodes, but we had an incident a couple of years ago where one of our neighbours had a heart attack and his wife came out screaming. You know, she was hysterical and you couldn't understand a word she was saying. And the way she was screaming, you would have thought someone was being stabbed, right? Because she was terrifying, so hysterical. Yeah. And Kate and I were in the shed and we heard it and we, instead of
just
ignoring it, we ran, like both of us with hip issues and whatever, we jumped the fence, we ran into, we could have been running in, seriously, when in hindsight, we could have been running into something quite dangerous, but we just ran towards it. There was a woman in need. Yes. We ran towards it. The guy across the road ran across the road as well. You know, there ended up being sort of 4 neighbours who converged on this flat. We did the CPR until the paramedics arrived. And, you know, and he actually did die. Like his heart stopped while we were working on him. No, he's fine. He's fine. So good. You know, we got in. We did what neighbours should do. We got in and we did the job, and then we came out.
Are you neighbours who became good friends as a result of that?
And he came round after he had to have a stent and had time in the hospital and stuff. But yeah, he came round and gave us some sweets, and he always says hello, and so does his wife. It's all very nice. But my point is, that's what neighbours should do. They don't hear someone screaming and dying. And the thing is, the reason I found that really disturbing is she's screaming, Alexa, call 911. You know, she's clearly not just screaming out nothing. She's screaming for help. She's screaming stuff, and they're just ignoring it. So over to you guys.
So I think
those, isn't it?
I think the first relationship, I don't think those red flags would have been enough for that. What was the first lady's name? Hannah?
Heidi.
I don't think that would have been enough for her to worry too much about. He just sounds like a fitness freak who's a
yeah, no, I agree. But I couldn't help being calling it because the story of how he broke up with her was just too funny in my mind.
But like, was she small and he was super tall, so he got down on a knee so he could look her in the eye? Is that the? That's all I could kind of.
Do you have any pictures of him, Schmidty?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at David and Kobe.
David and Kobe.
It's like Bonnie and Clyde. They're doing cross country. Yeah. That's like David and Kobe.
He's not that interesting to look at. Like,
he's not stunning. Can you see how tall he is, kind of? Do you get a sense of his stature?
I'll try and find a photo where you do, because I've seen a couple that you do.
Did he win the Florida Hunching Championship?
They don't show his stature, but they'll show he looks just really American. That sounds weird, I know, but I'll show you what I mean.
It does. Which American are you thinking of? Like, does he look like Kim Kardashian?
No.
Only tall?
No, he's just got that preppy...
like a Yale... What's that, Ivy League? Is that what we were talking about the other week? The university kind of...
Yeah, he's got a cross on. Can you see the picture of him?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Radio.
You know, just that kind of buzz... not buzz cut, but that's Gretchen with him.
Buzz Lightyear. Oh, Gretchen's pretty.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. Yeah, that's very sad. But, he's ordinary. He's not amazing looking, but you could imagine, with a nice physique.
Yes, and so,
he's not ugly.
No.
People would go for him. Mm.
So, COVID did some weird things to a lot of people.
Mm.
Not murder, as far as I'm aware, although, he might like to think that. I'm not copying that for a second. I did hear that 1 in 8 people in Australia have mental health issues as a result of COVID. So I also note that not 1 in 8 people are killing their spouses as a result of the mental health issues they have. I'm not going with the mental health defense at all. It just sounds like a completely unnecessary murder. And I know that there's plenty that we cover that are unnecessary, but it doesn't sound like she's done anything.
No.
It just
I would
imagine
agree.
meeting someone at
What was the
Paint and
motive,
Sip
really?
and telling them you don't want to be groped up at Paint and Sip, and therefore you get broken and entered to and moved into, and then murdered.
That's not
that
her.
woman was another woman. She
it was the estranged wife he killed.
Yeah, Gretchen had chucked him out, and he went out with this
Paint and Sip somewhere else.
Sorry, right?
Paint and Sip. We'll call her Paint and Sip.
He
went out with Paint and Sip, and she had a lucky escape. By the look of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha. It just sounds.
It sounds like it's without motive. That's kind of where I struggle. And this idea of it being somehow for him conveniently trying to introduce COVID into it with that little speech he made at the end, that's totally lost on me. It's like, it literally is like saying, well, I thought it was going to be the end of times anyway, so I thought, I'll murder you. I'll put you out of your misery. I'll get the job done for you. And I'm like, that's just madness. So, yeah, I didn't understand where he was trying to draw a parallel between what had happened and, the COVID sort of pandemic sort of bearing down everyone. I didn't really get that. I was lost. That was lost on me.
Was there ever a discussion around what his motive was?
There's a suggestion that it is driven by, a mental illness, but that he becomes obsessive
that's not a motive.
That he becomes obsessive around the end of the world.
Yeah.
And COVID and a pandemic was a great backdrop for
Agreed.
that, because in the news that was all that anyone was talking about at the time. And remember, he'd already in 2018 had decided that Armageddon was coming. So he's got this preconceived idea about the world ending.
So why would he murder someone?
I think his motive for murdering Gretchen was that he was furious with her for having the temerity of dumping him.
Yes. This, to me, is a domestic violence. This is exactly what it is.
And I think it doesn't mean that all those other things weren't going on in his head as well.
Yeah.
But I think that if you were to break it all down, he was angry.
Yeah.
His escalating behaviour showed that he had uncontrollable rage happening. He's yelling at people at work. He's not showing up. He's doing all these things. He's yelling at the lady at the, what do you call it, the Paint and Sip, because she wouldn't let him feel her up. He was gropeable. All of that.
Maybe that is the definition of gropeable, when you try and feel someone up and they deny you. You are gropeable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're not gropeable, and therefore you become gropeable.
So they didn't actually get to that point. He himself has never, apart from making those statements in his sentencing, he's basically alluded to the whole thing being this kind of obsession around Armageddon. But if it's Armageddon, you should be saying Armageddon out of here, not
Armageddon really angry.
I'm going to kill you. What's that? If we're all going to die, then we're all going to die at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
precisely.
I still am going no motive. It just sounds like he was just a jealous, selfish asshole. He can split up with people and that's okay, but someone splits up with him and they have to be murdered. Like, what?
Yep.
Not okay with that.
No.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well,
I don't really think it's on Clarky to solve this. So what are you going to do about it? I'm sorry, I wasn't the one who murdered anybody.
What are you going to sentence him?
So unnecessary murders I can't do anything about, but this particular thing, his hero was Kobe Bryant, and he named his dog after him. So I'm going to sentence him to being locked in a room with his dog with no
his poor
food.
Dog. His dog didn't do anything wrong.
Until his dog eats him.
Oh.
So he
okay.
can get eaten by his hero in dog form, slowly, painfully, Kobe will get the food that he needs, and then Kobe will be fine and go on and live a happy life without a fucking aggressive asshole who probably treated Kobe like shit.
Oh, no, to everything I read, he loved his dog. He was very good with his dog.
Yeah, and he apparently loved his wife as well, you know.
I'm not sure. I don't think he could love a person. I think he was such a narcissist and that was the point that Gretchen made herself, saying you can't love other people.
Can't love
like she
yourself.
knew.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of the tact I will sort of take with my sentencing. So I think that I don't know that he's an absolute narcissist, but he certainly has narcissistic traits. And certainly based on some of his earlier behaviours, I think that what would probably bother him the most is to be unfit and back to that childlike person he was when he was, bullied and not.
Oh God, you're cruel.
Not,
sometimes
not about what he looked like. So
sometimes we sentence people, we are so gratuitous. You are much more vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
But it's true. I think he thought that he, as an adult, he had overcome the issues that he had because physically he was able to look a certain way. And we wouldn't have really known that except for the instance with Heidi and the way he was, able to belittle her and say, look, it's not me, it's you. You need to go and sort yourself out. You can be a better version of yourself. This isn't enough for me.
So you can be someone that I love.
And that seems particularly unfair for someone who'd gone through, some hardship as a child based on what he looked like. So I'm very comfortable that I can park that and go, well, actually, no, he seems to have overcome that. And some. So my punishment would be sending him to Trial by Wine World, and he would need to be. I guess I'm going to send him down to Peasant World because Peasant Land. I know that I do over populate that part of Trial by Wine World, but it's so unglamorous and it's so not about what you look like. It's just about being totally miserable, just doing some hard work. Yeah, just doing the hard yards. And I think that when someone becomes so aware of, being what they look like, I think someone like him, if he couldn't work out and he was no longer a lean, mean specimen, I think that would be really very detrimental to him. I think he would really struggle. So I think that's what I'd do. Just send him there where he back to the person he once was before he made it all better. Because I think he's probably been trying his whole life to run away from that. So I'm sending him right back there.
Can you also make him eat kale for the rest of eternity in a desperate attempt to get lean? But kale actually
he probably wouldn't see it as a punishment. I'm going to make him eat like really
no
bad,
one likes
crappy
kale.
food.
They only eat it so that they
can say they eat it.
So it makes them feel
healthy.
Eat it. But he can eat it and feel fucking unhealthy. And
perhaps that's fine. I don't mind as long as he looks a certain way and doesn't feel great. Then I think that he needs to be left with himself. And only himself, because it's all well and good to sort of judge other people, but he'd come from that background himself, so it's particularly odd. But I do think, I think it's fair to say he definitely does have mental health issues. But this whole COVID cover-up, whatever you want to call it, I mean, he didn't.
Why do you say he definitely has mental health issues? What?
Well, I think he does. I think that
what's the clincher?
Not the murder, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not that. More, and I'm not saying they have to be particularly...
His inability to regulate his emotional state.
Yeah, so you don't have to say that he's a psychopath. I'm not, trying to... But just on a level, if he has had some lobe damage, but based on a car falling on his head as well, I mean, there were signs before that, right? That was not... Didn't start there. He would already been
as a child, he had issues.
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess there are some cases where you go, the mental health possibly is what led to the crime. I don't see any link between his mental health issues and the crime, unless I missed something. But it just seems like, whilst, as I said, 1 in 8 people in Australia apparently have mental health issues as a result of COVID, there's not a fucking spike.
No, I think the statistics that we'd be more inclined to look at are domestic violence statistics. That's where this story lies for me.
Yeah, and I don't think COVID specifically plays any part in his reaction or his behaviour. It's so early in the period of COVID.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. That's very true. It was very early days, and I was thinking
it's a new story at that point in time.
Absolutely.
And so for me, his calculation and using that to cover up what's happened to her is extraordinary.
Agreed.
I'm more happy with the narcissist label than any of the others.
Yes.
He just sounds like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I agree.
For my sentence, I'm going to sentence him. Do you remember once upon a time, I think it might have been Werewolf and the Poet, I think we may have banished them.
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was a banishing.
Yeah, to the Iron Island or whatever it is.
Yeah, somewhere yonks and yonks away. Well, I'm going to banish him out to a similarly desolate place because he wants to be, or he likes to think that this is Armageddon, and so he can go off and be a survivalist in a completely, empty place. And I'm going to send with him for sustenance 10 pairs of shoes. So he can eat his 10 pairs of shoes.
Oh,
Yeah, nice.
Give him a bit of
Boil
no
up
rice.
whatever leather.
No,
No
just
rice.
no rice, just the
Whatever
shoes.
leather's on those shoes, he can boil those up and he can have a nice little chew on those while he's out there in no man's land surviving the Armageddon that never happened.
Are they vegan shoes?
In fact, let's make it worse. Let's make them synthetic.
I was going to
if
say,
he
yes,
wears them,
synthetic.
they're really sweaty and stinky and he gets tinnier.
Yeah.
Tastes like
And he has to then eat them because that's all he's got.
They would also be vegan shoes then, so he can literally claim he's on a vegan diet when he eats his shoes.
He could. I'm not sure that he ever did, but yes, he could do that. But he'll have no one to claim that to because he's out there on his
Correct.
own. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And he doesn't even get to take his lovely dog.
Oh.
His dog gets to live with someone nice. Yeah, that's my sentence.
Well done.
Well played.
Great story.
Alright.
Very interesting.
So that's my COVID story. I'm sorry for a few stops and starts in the way I read it because I have noticed I am feeling not quite a hundy, but that's all right. I will be, I'm sure, fit for our next episode. But thank you guys for joining me. And isn't it good we're in a world of virtual, so there's absolutely no risk of you re-catching a COVID from me
Yes.
through riverside.fm. All right.
Safety first.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. And
Ciao, ladies.
See you next time. Bye. Ciao.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.